It's the 10th of January and I'm at Solent Villas Resort. I have been making use of these resorts to camp for about $8 a night since I arrived to the coastline at the Ivory Coast. Of course, I started at that coastline in Abrekum, but once I departed, I began looking for spaces like this one that allowed camping. It's very comfortable facilities, of course, and if you want to spend a lot of money in the restaurant, for example, you can do that. The beach is beautiful this morning despite the overcast weather, which honestly I'm happy to see because that means I'm going to suffer a lot less in the heat, at least if it persists. Here I am on the coastline directly. I'll be inland on the highway today. I've been unable to avoid the highway on this part of the journey, at least for long. I'm hoping today as I ride into Accra, that space will be more kind than less. Yesterday at times I was very frustrated because the vehicles showed me very little respect. Not all of them, of course, but enough that my nerves were chafed by the time I arrived here, you might say. Now back to this beach. Have a look up the coastline. Those folks have just dragged a net to shore. The boat had one end of the net maybe 300 meters off the beach, and then most of the village dragged the net and pulled the boat at the same time, and now they're sorting whatever in their catch. It's surfaced as a common way to catch fish on this coastline since I arrived at the Ivory Coast. But there are many boats farther out and they're not dragging their nets to shore, so some variety in how they catch their fish, and no doubt some variety in what fish they catch, depending on how they go about their business. Just behind me now is another, I think, more properly a resort town. Looks quite fancy from here, at night even more so. Not far from this resort is a village, a typical village. There were many children there yesterday, more than I think I've ever seen in a village on the journey. And I've been told that the fishermen produce a lot of kids. That's the reason, apparently. They like to have many children around to pull those nets to shore, apparently. What a gorgeous space. I have the restaurant to myself this morning. The tourists aren't out of bed yet. I'm gonna finish my third cup of coffee, finish packing the bike, and then return to the highway. I'm very reluctant to do that because I fear today will be uncomfortable like a few other days. But we will see. Maybe I will be surprised. That would be ideal.